What's up? What's up? So somebody told me there was some space or a market for a late night convos and live streams, and it was one of my subbies months ago, and I don't know if it. I don't remember if they told me that in the chat in the comment section in somebody else's live, or if they said that to me on one of my videos. I don't recall, but I remember someone telling me that before. Anyway, so I just was randomly thinking about talking to you guys about some of the stuff that's been running through my mind um, for a little while, and some current event stuff, like the Queen passing away, right? I think we're gonna start off with that. And let me get some comments just in case, so I can. Oh, yep, we are live. We are live. Oh man, I looked down. I seen one of the comments. Brother said, "The black woman social worker." I know. I mean, I I think I'ma just own that title. Shout out to Edward Anderson. I think I'ma just own the title, brother. I think I'ma just own it. But yeah. So let's talk about this. Like, okay, we just came off the heels of Kevin Samuels passing about 3 months ago, right? So I am reluctant to celebrate the death of anyone, right? That's not something I'm going to do. Okay, so we're not going to necessarily celebrate the death of the Queen of England, but with that said, I am satisfied with black people's reaction for the most part, right? Um, and I'm glad that we're not gonna let the world forget because so many people wish they were her, or they wish they were a monarch. I am glad that black people did not let the world forget what that monarchy is, right? What that monarchy was built off of, especially over the past 500-600 years, right? I'm glad that we did not let the world know about Australia and the Aboriginals, about the Native Americans in America, right? About Africa, about South America, about the Caribbean, right? I'm glad that we did not let the world forget about India, right? The sun never sets on the British monarchy, right? On the British crown, right? On the British Empire, right? And what does that mean? What was it built off of? What was that monarchy built off of? That empire? How many millions of bodies does that monarchy sit on top of? Right? We're not talking about a person or a group of people that have a couple of years of atrocity under their belt, or even a couple of decades of atrocities under their belt. We're talking about an empire that has centuries of atrocities under their belt, right? From Ireland 800 years ago, right, all the way up to present. They have centuries. They just flexed their muscles on Argentina with a few decades ago, with the Falkland Islands. What the hell y'all need the Falkland Islands for, right? So you're talking about an empire that has centuries, damn near a millennia of atrocities under their belt. So spare me the kind words about the Queen. Okay, yeah, she wasn't as atrocious as her forefathers and foremothers. Big whoop, right? She was the best of the worst. Stop it, right? So spare me the conversation about, yeah, she wasn't the worst. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? Right? When was the last time one of y'all saw a real ass Native American? Right? You see, young people don't even know who the hell an Aboriginal is. If we said Aboriginal person, they don't even know what the hell you're talking about. They won't even know what you're talking about. Right? India and Africa are still reeling from the British Empire's invasion of them or conquering of them. You got the darkest of the dark Nigerians speaking English, and y'all want to talk to me about this queen. Get the hell out of here. I am literally speaking English right now. Do y'all not understand how atrocious this damn empire has been? Right? So I am glad to see that black people did not let the world just sell. And let's be very clear. I saw Tariq Nasheed posted something. I think it was on Twitter of Jamaican diplomats or dignitaries, saying they're gonna have 12 days to mourn her death or something along those lines. Let me tell you something. Mr. Z grew up in South Florida with a bunch of Jamaicans. Jamaicans do not care about that damn queen. The average Jamaican could care less. The average Jamaican is like, what, who, no, they don't care. They do not care about that. The average Jamaican does not care about that queen. They do not care about the British monarchy. The average Jamaican is like, pay us our reparations money, player. Right? So, I understand the Jamaican government, trying to show that they care, and they're I'm not sure if Jamaica's still a Commonwealth or not, but, yeah. But the average Jamaican that I know of, yeah, could care less. Once again, like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. And let's moving on to some other conversation. I might come revisit this again, but so being the person that I am, oh, right, sadomasochist like Charles says, and black woman social worker like Ed says. I'm gonna just keep on racking these things up. I watched a clip from Kim from For Harriet speaking about the loneliness epidemic, and we've been having these conversations for a while now in the Black manosphere spaces, but now that article came out a couple weeks ago, we got to see black women celebrating it, and actually other women also kind of throwing it in our faces, essentially saying, and I want to be very clear what they were really saying, because you won't bow to us and you won't come to the table groveling at our feet, now we're going to punish you with loneliness. Haha, right? And Kim said something interesting, and when a person is like so much self-awareness, they don't really understand what they're saying. She did the same thing that white lady that I spoke to you guys about a couple weeks ago did, where it's kind of like, y'all won't change like this, y'all are not emotionally intelligent, y'all, now that y'all don't have all the money in the world, y'all can't buy us, so now you got to come to the table with a personality and whatever, and have character and have charisma and blah, blah, blah. And once again, that assumes that women have it. Now, we're hearing from men, regardless of race, across the board, that they're dating one-dimensional women, right? These women are as interesting as a freaking cardboard box. They don't have any conversation. They're not likable. They're not charismatic. They're not funny, right? But Kim and other women assume, because men have been placating you boys were placating you when you were younger, and then men placate you as an adult. You really think you come to the table with something more than a middle management job and a used box. You're assuming, and once again, this is important that I'm saying this. I'm going to tie this to something else in a minute. You're assuming that your way is the right way. A comment I made on Twitter a little while ago, I even forgot. I rarely go on Twitter. It might be the social media I use the least out of the ones I do use. And sometimes I forget something I said, and then people will comment back to it, and I won't realize it until a month later, right? So I already lost the conversation. And it was along these lines, right? And I said something like, y'all want men to emote the way y'all emote. It's not that men don't express our feelings. We express our feelings oftentimes. Like, I understand that I'm very wordy and I drag things out, and and I pontificate on things, and I that's just me. But most men aren't that way, right? They're short and to the point, right? Or they say things in a certain way, and because women don't understand that, now women are demanding that men emote the way they emote. And because men do not tend to emote, your average man, your average heterosexual man does not emote the way women emote, then they're looking at that as like, oh, you don't know how to emote, you're not emotional, you don't have emotional intelligence. And it's like, no, these are not the same thing. I speak and I do show you emotion. I do have emotional intelligence. I just don't move and speak and act the way you do. Right? So in other words, we're telling men that they're really deficient women. But once again, we're living in a society that says all of these things are binary and they're trying to be non-binary. So when I say we're telling men that they're deficient women, there's going to be somebody inevitably that pops up and says, well, what is a woman? Right? You know, so there's that. And so I'm listening to Kim speak about these things, and she essentially said the same thing like I told you guys that the white woman said, essentially like, you're not showing up for us like this, so haha, you're lonely now. And the problem with this is, and when she was speaking about it, like I said, it's assuming that women have the right way and everything men do when it comes to these things is the wrong way. And she was saying now that she's single now and whatnot, you know, she doesn't see herself in a relationship and blah, blah, blah. And like, she could be in a relationship, but she's not going to, she doesn't see herself in a relationship for a while because she won't adhere to men coming to the table with nothing. Once again, listen to that phrase, right? Men coming to the table with nothing. Because if you're not making money, right, and then you lack all this emotional intelligence and you don't know how to communicate and your sex is whatever and blah, 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 I mean, you're coming to the table with nothing. Very interesting how a lot of these women are speaking now, right? And so because she won't adhere to that, then she sees herself as being single. And she never, and this is what I said, lacking self-awareness, she never considered that there's many men in that same position. She never considered that there are men that are stable financially, or we're not even talking about the men, black men specifically, that are above stable. We're saying men that can pay all their bills comfortably, they're living by themselves comfortably, they're okay. They have friend circles, they have homies, they're able to, the only thing they might be missing is the intimacy and the sex part, but everything else in their life is at least okay, right? And this is what Kim was also speaking to, like, you know, we can get our emotional needs met through friends and families, and we have hobbies and we have other things to occupy our time. And in that, she never considered that there are lots of men, not just some men, but many men in that same exact position. And just like you said, you will not essentially humble yourself so that you can be with a man. There are plenty of men, and we say it here all the time in these spaces in the black manosphere, who say, you know what, I'm not, just for some easy sex, I am not going to be a woman's walking wallet. I'm not going to be her meal ticket, all those foodie calls, right? This goes back to a lot of the women that low key, and we seen these videos a couple months ago, and I'm kind of beating myself up for not saving them. And they were on Instagram, they were on Twitter, where these women are saying, well, nigga, you are a walking wallet. Like, you're not as emotional as me. You don't know how to express yourself like me. You don't know how to do this like me or that like me. So you are a wallet. That's what you're good for. What else are you good for? Because you're not a woman, right? Because I am the alpha and omega when it comes to emoting and expressing myself, and when it comes to being able to speak and be able to do all these things, because I'm the alpha and the omega, all you were supposed to do is essentially come with the wallet. And because you can't even do that anymore by societal standards, really it's by like this surreal ass standard that most of them not even living, but because you can't do that anymore, then what do I need you for? And so going back to Kim, her speaking this way was really interesting because she never actually considered that there's men in the same position that she claims to be. The same position that she claims to be in, which is men that are stable or above stable, who do not need a woman financially for anything, are finding themselves in these interesting positions where women are condescending down to them, belittling them just because they have a boss. And those men are essentially saying, I am not going to be your walking wallet, and then still have you insult me for not moving and speaking and acting like you. And then if I did do it, here's the catch-22. If I did, then I'm a pussy. And excuse my language, or I'm a bitch, right? That's the catch-22, right? If I actually did adhere to all of these things, then that would still bite me in the rear end in the first, because you don't actually mean anything you say. You're condescending from a power position, and you want to maintain that power position. So you're assuming from this very egotistical position that you're in, that I cannot speak the way you speak. And I might not be able to. But because you assume that, then you feel like you're sitting on a pedestal above me. But then if I did adhere to those things, then you would just move the goalpost to another place where it's like, well, you act like a woman. But hey, once again, what is a woman nowadays? That's a whole different conversation, right? So that's what I found interesting in that conversation. And to bring the loneliness epidemic, and lonely men are violent and all this other stuff, like all these researchers are saying, we forget how women move, right? Like, because I guess men move so overtly, we forget about proxy violence from women, right? Emotional terrorism from women. And I'm gonna start saying that more and more so that we can incorporate that in our lexicon, because many of us, especially as Black men, have seen it or experienced it, right? I'm going to use, I can harm you physically. Y'all need to stop pretending like women may not be physically as strong as men, but that doesn't mean she can't shoot your ass. But doesn't mean she can't sneak you, right? With a pan, with a hammer, with anything, with a knife, right? So if I can't harm you, then I get another man to harm you. If that other man can't harm you, then I get the state to harm you. If the state can't harm you, I get the entire all the institutions to harm you. And women have been using this threat of other male violence, of institutional violence, right, of state violence against men for decades. Could argue centuries, but for decades, right? And so to hear Kim speak the way she did about men and violence, oh, lonely men and violence, it's like, wait a minute, but aren't y'all laughing about lonely men? Or isn't that the whole point? Like, haha, y'all are not adhering to the way we want you to move now, so now we will break the institutions, right? We will break the institutions because y'all not moving the way we want you to move. And the way we want you to move is to bow to us. We need to develop a language, and this, once again, this goes to FD signifier and all those think piece writers and all those academics, where women want power too. They may not exert power the exact same way men do, but we need to develop a language for egotistical, megalomaniac ass women. Y'all are so stuck in like this weird pre-1990 era of speaking about men and women interactions that y'all done skipped over an entire 30-year gap, 40, 50, 60-year gap, really, if we're gonna be honest. First of all, I think the way y'all reading the history between men and women is fucking wrong anyway. But even if I grant y'all that, y'all have skipped over everything that's gone on over the past 60 years. And then because of that, you really miss what the interaction between men and women are in the 21st century and the megalomaniac ass women. Why do we think there's not women that are not power hungry? You're literally watching them and the way they speak. That's the beauty of online. That's the beauty of the internet. That feeling of anonymity is allowing them to speak so boldly and then cheer each other on for saying the most heinous things. So once again, going back to Kim, because you assume this position that the way women are speaking and acting and thinking and moving is the right way, you look down on the way men think and move and act and speak. And then you say, oh, well, lonely men are violent. Wait a minute. I'm a straight black man born and raised in America. I done been around aunts. I done been around people's mothers, their aunts. I done been around a bunch of women who say and do the most heinous things from that place of loneliness and anger and rage and bitterness. Y'all gotta act like we don't have a bunch of young men and young women speaking about the insanity of their mothers. Y'all gotta act like that's not a thing, Kim? And how their lonely, bitter, angry mother took off all her anger on them because that was the one person she could rain hell on. They're not gonna act like there's not a bunch of women who tell us that they moved out their mother's house at 16, 17, 18. The second they could, they were out, 19 years old. 16, 17, 18, 19. The second they could, because their mother was hell. So just because we might be exhibiting these things a little differently does not mean that what women are doing is not just as potent. And just because the media and society and white supremacist society, have made it their mission to be very critical of men while not really wanting to have the conversation about women. And when it comes to how they exhibit this toxicity, doesn't mean that y'all don't exhibit this toxicity, right? Like, how do these people keep on throwing that privilege line in our faces, right? If a person has privilege, or when a person has privilege and you take it away, then they feel harmed, or whatever, however that quote goes. I completely butchered it. How do y'all say that and then like miss the part of like the female privilege part of the conversation, right? And once again, like, I'm reminded of the miseducation of a Negro. Y'all are going to these institutions, whether they're PWIs or HBCUs, and then coming back and then trying to like make the black community or black men into like these white, kind of soft-ish liberal men, white liberal men, and then it's not working, and then you're throwing a fit into them, and then essentially seeing these men as defective. You're trying to like force black men to be upper middle class, liberal white men, and then deeming those men that either can't do that shit or refuse to do that shit as being defective. And it's not really like you even appreciate those white liberal men outside of their status and wealth anyway. This is some weird shit, bro. And we're seeing that all over the place. And once again, like I told y'all the other day, this is like kind of my mission now, to like bring light to this. The hypocrisy in these people. For Kim to say that, for her to essentially say, and excuse my background once again, right? For her to essentially say that she will not, she could be in a relationship, but there's certain things she's just not gonna do just to be in a relationship, and then never consider that there's men, tons of men, in that same exact position right now, with these egotistical, self-absorbed, selfish-ass women, for you to not even consider that. Is it a blind spot? Or are you speaking from a weird-ass, megalomaniac-ass view of like, no, what women are saying and doing is on the up and up. You men are just defective. Talk about binaries. It's either one of the two. There ain't no middle ground. Y'all have gotten to speak so much over the past 5 or 6 decades unchecked. You don't even realize when you're saying something that's contradictory, or you never consider how that shit could be flipped or turned on its head. Because women like you, Kim, have been able to speak with no real pushback for decades. And y'all really underestimate what this opening up of the town square to men has done to the conversation. That's why y'all really want to shut down the black manosphere. Because not all of us are some raging, angry, first into the red pill type of situation. Many of us are not going through the red pill rage anymore, if we even ever did, right? D. Scott, what's going on? Black woman social worker, admin free. Oh man, right? That's the interesting thing about this whole conversation right now. Y'all have never actually had to really wrestle with what men are saying, right? And then I will give Kim this. She did speak about this kind of epidemic of loneliness that's happening and how she doesn't see this shit turning around anytime soon because of men's financial position and then supposedly women's newfound kind of power and influence, and then women and men not pretty much seeing eye to eye. That's gonna, you see, so you claim how this is gonna be detrimental because of men's violence. You don't see how this is gonna be detrimental to women? Or detrimental because of women, better yet? You don't see how this is gonna be detrimental because of women. Y'all are so used to having the conversation about men being violent that y'all never consider what women do when they're lonely, when they're bitter, when they're angry. Y'all keep on speaking like it's always internal, right? Like angry women just turn inward and take it off on themselves or take it off on children or take it off on other women. Y'all never consider that angry women take that shit off on men too? Yeah, they take it off on children, that's true. Yes, they take it off on other women, yeah, that's true. But they take it off on men too. Oh, but I forgot, that's okay because that's like cosmic justice, right? You know? This is some really weird shit, right? On another note, let's keep on moving. Paris Milan and Yanni and the rage porn content that they create over there, and why I keep on harping on it. Like I said the other morning to you guys, it's because of how dangerous it is, right? It's because of how dangerous it is. And even FD in one of his most recent videos, and I keep on forgetting the brother's name. He was on Tareen Walker's video and he was on FD's video. They spoke about the therapist, and even FD said, yo, she was using a lot of like divestment language. She said dusty, she you know, and FD said, you know, I'm a black man. I know sometimes we use harsh language with other black people in private and blah, blah, blah. But she was using divestment language, and that goes to what I'm saying. And I'll give FD that. I'm happy that you saw that crap. I'm happy that you saw it. But that's just the tip of the iceberg, FD. And like that brother told you in another video, in your Black Manosphere video, right? You got teachers, black female teachers, sounding like divestors. So you want to know why? Think about that. If the primary teachers of black boys in America, in schools, are white women and black women, and black boys are falling so far behind in reading, are falling so far behind their female counterparts. FD, you don't see this? I'm not even asking you to put your tinfoil hat on. You think this is a new phenomenon because of the divestors? Think about that. I think FD saw that shit and he closed the door back, right? And it's kind of scary when you think about it. You saw it now you see it a little bit with the therapist. FD, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Like I told you, we had to run off an attorney from this space about a year ago now, sounding like this. We had to threaten her bar license. You know how many because we're so much, hunting for the black men who we think are sexist, misogynist pigs all through all the institutions in this country, that we completely ignore our daughters who become women just like this therapist, right? If black boys' primary teachers, let's do the math. Black boys are primarily being raised by single mothers, single black mothers. That's one. Then their teachers are mainly, my bad y'all, because they turn into parking lot into a burnout session. My bad, y'all. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go downstairs and run them out of here. Give me a second, y'all, because they think it's funny. Yep, this is the beauty of working on in a downtown area in your city. They think it's a smoke box. Okay. Anyway, um, yeah, but so because and I lost my train of thought that easily. But yeah, okay, like I said, let's do the math. Mainly raised by single mothers, right? Then your teachers, for the most part, and your educators are black women and white women, for the most part. Do we not see a problem here? And then we blame the boys and the men. Do we not see a problem here? And so this is what I'm saying when I'm tying that right back to Paris Milan and Real Talk with Yanni. That's why their rhetoric is so dangerous. That's why Chrissy's rhetoric is so dangerous, right? Because they're speaking like this about the boys and the men, and then their subscribers, which number in the hundreds of thousands, amongst them they're probably scraping 1 million, and that's before we even get to Mahogany Pink also, right? That's before we get to Lexidus also, that's before we get to Divested Zealot also, and the Shira Sevens, all these other people also, right? That's before we even get to all of those people also. I told y'all I was on what, Art New Styles channel. It was a cute dark-skinned sister that I follow on IG, right? Always thought she was cute. Watching the Paris Milan live, she's in the comments. She's blue check. She's a moderator on Paris Milan's channel. Boom! It's just that easy, y'all. It's just that easy. So I'm tying this to what I'm saying and saying this to FD Signifier. You remember Paris Milan got a shout out from, was it Rolling Stone or whatever, one of those? And so did Lexus Exodus, got interviewed by one of them also. Or I at least asked a couple of questions by one of them also. Either Rolling Stone or one of those bigger magazines, right? Bigger publications. So Cynthia G gets to go on Fox Soul. Paris Milan gets interviewed by one of these bigger publications. So does Lexus Exodus. And these women are speaking insanely about your boys and men. And do you understand how dangerous this is? We would never, ever, ever give a microphone to the black male equivalent. Never, right? We would never give a microphone to the black male equivalent. But we give these women a microphone and we interview them. Okay. Imagine Jay-Z's mom doing a documentary about how black women aren't these sassy, mean-spirited women. They're not a threat to society. They're not welfare queens. They're just normal human beings who go through ups and downs and who have positives and negatives. And then imagine black men, while she was being interviewed in by CBS, I'm sorry, in the comment section, ripping her apart because she's mammying for black women or something like that, right? Imagine that. And you think that wouldn't have been highlighted by the dominant society and other black women? Look at these men. Look how they're speaking about us. All we want is for society to not see us as a threat, and look how they're speaking about us. That's why Paris Milan and Real Talk with Yanni and all these people, either divester adjacent, these people that claim on black women empowerment, all of these women, the whole spectrum, because it's not just divestors. Like I said to FD Signifier before, your floor was black men ain't shit. That was the floor, bruh. So if our society would not allow for black men, look how hard the backlash was to Snoop. Nobody from the dominant society and even a lot of black people, y'all didn't even press Gail for pressing Leslie. Y'all didn't even press it. Gail was fishing for a particular answer from that lady. She was fishing for it. We all saw Gail fishing for a particular type of answer. She did not get the answer she wanted. Snoop, in hood fashion, snapped on her, and y'all watched as white society and Susan Rice, old midlife crisis looking ass son, mom, right? Y'all let Susan Rice literally threaten Snoop Dogg in front of everyone. Y'all know Snoop was never gonna do shit to Gail, but we don't know if Susan Rice would have never done nothing to Snoop. And then we have to watch Snoop backpedal, and then we have to watch Snoop go on real Red Table Talk and humble himself and act like what he said was some type of outlandish, more outlandish than what Susan Rice said, or more outlandish than Gail trying to press another black woman to throw a dead black man under the bus. Y'all don't see how this shit is dangerous? Because Gail is just an older version of Paris Milan and them. You think her and Oprah been talking crap about black men for decades? That's why it's so dangerous, because now it's not just hair salon conversation. Now it's not just talk show, afternoon and morning talk show conversation. That you have to, maybe you watch it once a week or for an hour a day at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. No, these videos are being pumped out by the dozens on social media. You're gonna see more of these black therapists, FD. That's why Paris Milan and them are dangerous. These are not direct divestors, but they play with that language, right? That's why they're so dangerous, right? These people are weird. The 18th letter, Chrissy, Paris Milan, or Yanni don't care about black women. They're aware that sisters are lost and they could monetize their pain and confusion. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Right? Absolutely correct. Right? That's what makes these people so dangerous. And then when you have these content creators like Kim, who kind of nibble at the edges a little bit, right? Not so much Khadijah, not so much Julesy, right? T Noir nibbles just a little bit further away from Kim from For Harriet. When you have those content creators who kind of play with the language just a little bit too, you got a recipe for disaster. So while y'all are critiquing the black manosphere, this is what's actually, see, everybody's wondering how this language is affecting society and this loneliness epidemic and whatnot, right? Y'all are critiquing the men, just like we've been doing for decades, and just letting the women slide. And then you see this black therapist pop up and say this, and like I told you, we see this thing with the attorney that happened a year ago, and we have other black women who are coming into the spaces and talking crazy that are accomplished black, wondering where they're getting their rhetoric from. They're watching these content creators, and while y'all are critiquing the men, overly critiquing the men, your daughters and your sisters and your nieces are watching Paris Milan content. So Kim, what you miss or you ignore is that men are also, we can smell it, especially now. If you're a black man that's part of the black manosphere, you may not hate black women. Most black men don't hate black women. Most black men in the black manosphere still date and have sex with and want to marry a black woman. So you imagine, you go on a date with one of these sisters that subscribe to Paris or Real Talk with Yanni, and you could smell it. She's sistering. You're like, wait a minute, hold up, wait a minute. I heard that before. Oh, she referred to one of her guy cousins as Dusty. Oops. Uh-oh. I think I see where this is going. Right? She sounds a little she sounds a little bitter. Wait a minute. Something's not right here, right? She starts talking about this whole what are you gonna bring to the table type language. And black men are supposed to do what with that? You want to talk about a loneliness epidemic? Kim, you've never considered that it's not just the money aspect of it all. That women have become impossible. That's why y'all are frenemies. Men could have friendships going back decades. Why is it that women can't maintain a friendship for more than 5 years? Oops, I wasn't supposed to do that, huh? I'm pathologizing y'all, huh? Y'all are frenemies like a mug. Y'all are frenemies like a mug. You've never considered that? Do you really want to start to talk about domestic violence in lesbian households? Which one is worse, gay households or lesbian households? Oops, I wasn't supposed to do that. Ooh, I'm pathologizing y'all a little bit, huh? Ooh, yeah. You put two women in the same house together for too long and they start beating on each other. You never considered these things because you never had to look in the mirror and said, what about me? So while men are reporting and while they're paying attention to men being lonely, what about these women? And how does that then affect society? Because we're speaking about how lonely men, oh, that's dangerous. This manosphere talk is dangerous. You got schools trying to ban manosphere talking points now, right? You got schools trying to ban manosphere talking points, but yet this therapist didn't show y'all how some of these divester and swirler language and black women level up language is a problem. So let me get this right. We're running Andrew Tate off of social media, but literally around the same time, we have a therapist that had to be fired, excuse my background, because niggas with Challengers and Chargers don't know how to act after 12 o'clock. Right? But like I was saying, so we're running Andrew Tate off of social media. All right, cool. Right? That's a slippery slope, by the way. Okay, we're running Andrew Tate off of social media. But then we have nothing to say around the same time when the therapist has to be fired because another black woman wrote an article about how insane she sounded speaking about black men. And y'all don't see the problem here. You saw the problem, FD. But what about the rest of y'all? Right? Right? What about the rest of y'all? Let's see what this look like real quick. Because I don't want to miss anything crazy. Yeah, right? So, I mean, it's a bunch of... and excuse my background once again, after 12 o'clock, craziness. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, it's my life. So, these are some of the things I've been thinking about. These are some of the things that's gonna have to be addressed. I agree with Kim on this. I do not see us reversing this anytime soon. Right? I do not see us reversing this anytime soon. So yes, right now, overtly, the conversation has been about black men's loneliness in general and how that's gonna affect society and whatnot. But I do not see this reversing because we're also not speaking about not just women's loneliness, but how empowering women in a particular type of way, not just empowering women, because I don't think any of us are against that, especially some of us that come from single mother households. If it wasn't for mom's raise, if it wasn't for the money that mom was making, maybe we wouldn't have made it, right? It's and Crystal Ball from the Breaking Points speak about like the feeling of a zero-sum game. And I would tell Crystal, no, it's not just a feeling, it is a zero-sum game. You live in a capitalist society. You can't win without me losing, right? Like, and that's not even just strict to capitalism. This is a pyramid scheme. If we're all going for this one position, only one of us could get it. That's just the way it is. If we're all going for the corner office position and 5 or 6 of us qualify, only one of us is going to get that corner office position. If we're lucky, that one person will maybe bring somebody else as a vice president or whatever the hell. So maybe 2 people benefit in this very overt, in your face way. That's it. So that is what it is. Number one. Number two, because of that, this is going to affect the overall society, and it's not just men's reaction to this that's going to be a topic of conversation. We also have to have a conversation about women's reaction to this, and all of the sociologists. Was it Liz Mundy or another feminist that said it? Like, when we speak to the women have this very, archaic, conventional concept of relationships, right? So my previous video that I made, these people are virtue signaling when they're interviewed in certain ways, but then when you look at who they date and who they marry and who they find attractive and who they have sex with, that's a different conversation. We're not talking about the men, we're talking about the women right now, right? So that's number one. Number two, like I said, the reason why this is dangerous, the therapist. And it was interesting to see that happen and to see Vivica A. Fox try to defend it, right? Even Lisa Ray and the other sister, I can't remember her name, that disagreed with Vivica A. Fox. They pretty much only disagreed with her because it was unprofessional and it looked bad on her employer. They didn't actually disagree with the rhetoric. They disagreed with how she was dressed necessarily, right? And like how the people that she's had therapy with, how they saw her like, oh man, you have this spaghetti strap on and blah blah blah, and but they didn't actually disagree with her rhetoric and how she was saying it. And like, y'all are gonna have to get over verbally abusing black men or speaking to black men crazy and then just calling it tough love. No, call a thing a thing. You don't know how to speak to black men. You bark at black men and then you claim that that's what black men appreciate or like, or that's the only thing they can understand, right? It's not that that's the only thing they can understand. It's not that that's the only thing they appreciate. It's not that that's the only thing they like. It's that that's how you used to speaking to black men, and you like speaking to black men that way. And so you've made up excuses for decades saying, oh, this is the way they like us speaking. They appreciate it this way. Do they really appreciate it that way? Or do you get off speaking down to black men, condescending down to black men, even from your ivory towers? Because, by the way, that's not exclusive to like working class or hood or ghetto black women. That's not exclusive to them. You have a whole lot of accomplished black women that get off on speaking to black men that same way and claiming, oh no, that's just what they appreciate. Right? Once again, like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat, right? So there's that also. So that's what makes this dangerous, right? This conversation needs to be had. We've been having an almost one-way conversation for decades, maybe centuries, but for decades. And now that the town square has opened up where men in general, black men specifically, can speak, and now that what women are really saying no longer has like a white filter. What I mean by that is like, if a woman went off the rails on Oprah, that shit might have been edited out, right? It might have been edited out. But now with the internet, those things aren't edited out anymore, which makes for great conversation in real life, because people get to see how crazy they sound for real and what they're actually asking for and how a lot of these things contradict and how they really see men. It makes a lot of people in this society, that's men and women and the institutions, cringe because we built the past 60 years off of the concept of women not necessarily being these megalomaniacs, like I said, mean for no reason, getting off on stepping on other people. We built we built so much of our institutions, or reworked them, off of the concept of women being more resourceful, women just being easier and more pliable, women being more, just nicer people. They're not as headstrong, they're not as stubborn. And when you watch them on social media, or even for some of you that might be in a workspace where you're above other people, and you see how they speak and how they move in reality, in real life, not even just on the internet, you see a difference. I'm also reminded of the experiment that a woman did. I think it was a white woman, where she hired nothing but women, and that job, that I think that workplace didn't last more than a couple years. And she spoke about the cattiness of the women and just the insanity, because she thought that if she had an all-women workplace, then a lot of these different things, the competition with wardrobe and the cattiness and the insults and the "she looked at me this way" thing wouldn't be a thing. And it was. We're gonna have to have a different conversation now, mainly because of the internet, right? That's why I said it's dangerous for us to just keep on speaking about this in a one-way direction. That's why what Kim did to me when she spoke about this loneliness thing, that's why to me it's also somewhat in that dangerous category, because it's assuming that all men came to the table with is money. And this is what you saw off a lot when that article came out, right? All y'all came to the table with for decades is money, and like some type of stability because of that money. And now that y'all don't really have that like that no more, now y'all don't have anything. Now you have to be a likable person. Women, I want to, this is good. This is gonna come off sexist as hell, and that's okay, but it needs to be said. Women in the 21st century had the unmitigated gall to be speaking about men not being likable. You know how many men I run into in real life and online who have horrible dating experiences because they're dating one-dimensional, like I said earlier, women who are as interesting as a cardboard box. And these men are not necessarily chasing after IG models. That was one of the biggest lies about a bunch of these content creators that's interviewing women, not Cynthia G, the Kendra G's, the Kevin Samuels, the Fresh and Fits, all of these people that are interviewing women, and they're all sounding the same, even regardless of race. They're weird. And because y'all didn't critique them or have a real conversation with them for like 6 decades, they don't realize that their farts stink. You want to talk about socially awkward? You want to talk about a person that's not charismatic? You want to talk about a person that's stubborn? You want to talk about a person that's closed-minded? Right? And these people have the unmitigated gall to speak about men not being likable, while they're in Kim Foster's comment section saying, "Oh yeah, I've been single for 4 years, and I haven't had sex in 3, 4, 5 years, and I'm 37. I've never been in a real relationship." You think that's all the men's fault? Now, Kim, this is a question for you. You think that's all men? You think that's because men aren't likable? You think that's because men aren't stepping up? That you got subscribers that are 37 and never been in a real relationship? Because men, not just black men, because men, all they came to the table with is money, and now that now that the gap isn't as huge as it used to be, now they don't come to the table with anything. So some of your subscribers are getting well into their 30s and never been in no serious relationship. It's not that your subscribers are socially awkward. It's not that they're sexist. It's not that they're misandrous, right? It's not that they're not interesting at all. No, it couldn't be that. No. Y'all keep on making excuses for these people and then thinking that it's going to be the men that are dangerous. All right. I don't know if y'all been watching y'all local news. It ain't just men killing women out here, right? Right? Because men are going to be dangerous, right? Y'all heard it from me a couple years ago. I said it. Knock on wood. I can foresee one day. I think to me it's gonna be a black woman, but that's because I'm black. A woman walking into a barbershop and airing that shit out and saying some F men or F you men type stuff. That's not a fantasy of mine. I think we've made this environment so toxic, so polluted, and we've critiqued the men so much, and we allow these people to put out this rage porn content out here so much, right? That a person can be on the edge, and because they keep on watching Paris Milan stuff, keep on talking about femicide. I mean, like, when you see what happened with the Buffalo shooter, when you see what happened with the New Zealand shooter, when you see what happened with Dylan Roof in the Carolinas, what did we see? They kept on watching all this rage porn stuff and got radicalized and then went out and did something insane. Yes, that tends to be men that do that. But don't get it twisted. Don't think a woman can't do that. Was it the San Bernardino or the San whatever? Where a wife and the husband went and killed some stuff? She was radicalized also. Didn't we just hear the recent story about the woman who jumped in the Uber after she done killed some stuff? Right? So let's not act like that's not a thing. Right? Once again, like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. Excuse my background, guys. That's these, on a side note, car conversation, real quick. Look, all of you people running around here with the B58s, that's, for those of you that don't know, that's like the turbo BMW motor and all this other stuff. By the way, it's like in the, that's in the new Supra, that's in the M3s, that's in the 340s, that's in the 335, well, not 335s, but the 340s, the the Supra, was it the Z8? It's in a bunch of different Beamers and the Toyota Supra. And it's their inline six turbo motor. Y'all need to stop with this damn two-step and like, because everywhere I go is some person with a damn BMW, and like, when they let go of gas, it's right? And the backfire and just, they should have never let you niggas have turbos in these damn BMWs. Because everywhere you go, is somebody with a S50, what's the S54, I think? Whichever, whenever they first started putting the stock turbos on the Beamers, like they run around here with 330s, 335s, 340 Z4s, not a new Supra, Toyota Supra, like, and just everywhere you go, is somebody about to hit the red light and then, right? Right? So it's always some backfire everywhere you go. Goddamn, it's them and the damn 392 and Scat Pack and Hellcat dudes. Everywhere you go, it's you're either listening to the thunderous roar of a V8 or the backfire of a turbo 6-cylinder or a turbo 4 for all the Volkswagen guys and 2.0 the TFSI engine dudes, right? Or you hear the freaking sneeze of the freaking dual clutch transmission, right? Welcome to South Florida. Oh man. You can't afford a house, so you might as well spend your money on a nice ass car and hook it up. Live with your parents until you're 40, but you'll have a nice ass car though. I'm joking, but I'm kind of not. Right? It's just crazy. But you know, back to the story at hand. So that's why these things are dangerous. That's why we speak about them. That's why we speak about relationships. And I guess this will be another thing I'll bring up. Once again, like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. Um, the reason why, and I let me rewind and say this. Yuval Noah Harari, in some of his earlier interviews that I used to watch a few years ago, he spoke about how the rise of the printing press did not facilitate a huge leap in people wanting to hear about Galileo or some type of philosopher from ancient Egypt or ancient Rome or ancient Greece or something like that. Actually, that was the rise of like the witches and people wanting to read about how to kill witches and stuff like that. That was like one of the best-selling type of books when the printing press became a thing, right? When it was first invented. And so I'm looking at the conversation between men and women right now with social media and the internet, and I kind of feel like we're in that same place. Instead of us having a worldly conversation about, hey man, we're making our first real forays into space, right? We're trying to, we are on the dark side of the moon from China. You know, China's on the dark side of the moon. We have probes on Mars, right? We sent another one all the way out of, out of the solar system now, and all these different things, right? We got to see the comet Levy 9 hit Jupiter. Like, we have these big telescopes. We can look far, far, far outside of even the galaxy. We're not having those conversations as a society, not as a society, right? That's like a small group of people having that conversation. We're not having the conversation about pollution necessarily. We're not having the conversation about any of this stuff, right? We're having a conversation about how men ain't ish or women ain't ish, right? That's so on social media right now, we're allowing for people to be radicalized and get into these echo chambers and these bubbles, right? We're deplatforming people. We don't like what they say, even if they don't say anything necessarily insanely heinous, while we let other people skate. So in other words, we're picking winners and losers. We're putting our thumbs on the scales. That's what I kept on telling you, FD. Our society's put the thumb on the scales for the women for the past few decades, and you can see what it's done. This damn therapist done lost her job, but she was talking crazy and she didn't even realize, or she was so unremorseful, she's laying in bed still talking crazy about us. Okay, that's a whole different conversation. We'll get back to that later. So this is what social media is facilitating now. We're not even having a conversation like, about the entire economic structure right now and what's going on and why young people aren't buying homes and getting married and blah, 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 right? We're not even having that conversation. We're having the men ain't ish conversation and how it's funny that so many of these men feel lonely, right? That's the conversation we're having right now. And that's interesting. You could connect with anybody on the planet with this metal glass instrument with no buttons on it, called a cell phone. And you can text people and you can call people and you can go on the internet and you can FaceTime people, you can live stream, you can have a conversation with a panel of 10 people, or even on Clubhouse, how many people can you have on there at one time, right? And then we're not even talking about the chat room on YouTube or on live stream, right? We're just talking about the people on the panel. If you count the chat room, you could have however many freaking thousands of people all having this conversation at one time. And the most prevailing conversation, at least right now in the Black community, but believe it or not, in a lot of different spaces, is how men ain't ish and women ain't ish, right? That's interesting. It reminds me of I watched the documentary a while ago, but Sergeant Willie Pete, I guess, finally watched it. Shout out to Sergeant Willie Pete. He watched the documentary about the Asians and their relationship to white people, and he just called it straight for what it is. It's self-hate from Asian women. And like, for those of you that have been listening to Mr. Z for years, I kept on calling it out, right? I kept on telling y'all, like, in the Black community, we having a very overt conversation, but them Asians, ooh, especially Asian women. Yeah, see, the lie, and it's somewhat true, but it's for the most part, it's not 100% true. The lie was that it was white men chasing after, just pining for Asian women and chasing them down. That's somewhat true. But we didn't focus on the other side of it, the white worship of Asian women, right? And I think Asian women were just ahead of their time with the in-your-face white worship, or at least maybe not ahead of their time per se, but like very, very clear about their preferences. And I think black women and Latina women are also on the same thing, right? Because we never actually sat down and thought about what colonialization did to the minds of women. All we kept on talking about, and I'm deviating off of what I was speaking about earlier. I'll come back to it in a minute. All we kept on speaking about is men of color being jealous of white men, right? And then taking all that anger and that jealousy out on their female counterparts, on their women. So Asian men coming home and backhanding Asian women, or being very mean to Asian women because they can't be white men. Black men going home backhanding black women because we can't be white men. And all the different groups of people, indigenous men, and name them. And what you saw from that documentary is that's not really it. It's the way women of color see white men. And we haven't investigated that like ever. Fuck decades, we've like never investigated that. We have 5 centuries now, 5 or 6 centuries of Western Europe's domination of the planet, right? Oh, well, it began about 500 years ago, but like, you know, and it's culminated to this space that we're in now. That's why I'm speaking English, right? Or, you know, Haitian Creole, which is a patois derivative of French, right? And that's why all of you are typing in English right now in the chat, right? We haven't had a conversation about how Western European colonialism has affected the way women think, including women of color. We haven't investigated the way women of color not only think of themselves, but think of their male counterparts and of other men of color. And then how do they think about white men? We have not spoken about that. And so that documentary just exposed so much. And that documentary is like old. I think it's like 2-3 years old, right? Right? And I'm glad Sergeant Willie Pete spoke about, and excuse me, you guys, once again. Okay, watch this, y'all. Because niggas is driving in the parking lot acting stupid as hell. Oh yeah, they seen the city truck and they slowed their ass down, of course. Yeah, okay, back to the topic at hand. So, we haven't had a conversation like this for a century. And what that means is that we haven't been honest about this shit. And I lost my train of thought. I'm trying to bring it back. Let's see, give me a second, you guys. Working through my thoughts. Where was I? Don't lose my train. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So because of white Western colonialization and domination of the planet, women see their male counterparts a particular way, they see white men a particular way, and we haven't investigated that for like 5 centuries, right? We have not investigated that, and because we haven't investigated that, you have documentaries like this, or like, yeah, okay, so that's what I was saying. That came out like 2 or 3 years ago, right? And so we find ourselves in this position now, right? Where you have women overtly saying insane things about men of their same race, and like our society either doesn't know what to do with that, or pretends like they don't know what to do with that, or they're ignoring that, right? They're ignoring that, right? When y'all see that, and Sergeant Willie Pete had the numbers wrong a little bit. He said something like 30 some odd percent of Asian women marry white men. That's all Asian women in America, right? When you focus specifically on American-born Asian women, that number jumps up to like mid-50s, like 54% or something like that. So American-born Asian women marry outside their race at like 54%. And only, like Sarge Willie Pete was saying that he mainly blames that on the Asian fathers. Yeah, I could see why you're saying that, Sarge Willie Pete, but nah. It's not just the Asian, but all of this comes back to is white worship. It's bigger than just the Asian fathers not showing a particular type of masculinity and having a reverence for white people and white skin because white people run the damn planet. It's bigger than that. You live in a predominantly white country who shows nothing, for the most part, but portrayals of these, and like you said, like this 30 Shades of Grey, or 50 Shades of Grey, whatever the movie is called, right? Type of white dudes in these opulent settings, right? In these extravagant settings, right? And that plays on women's minds. That white skin status, that I want to be Miss Anne status, I kept on telling y'all it wasn't exclusive to black women. I'm sorry, I got to pat myself on the back for this one. I fucking kept on telling y'all that shit. I've been saying that since I became active in the black manosphere. Because a lot of brothers here kept on thinking that, no, this is just a black woman thing. No, it's a woman thing. I've worked with different races of women, right? And I'm telling y'all, it's not just a black woman thing. Black women were just the loudest about it to get at black men. It's a woman thing, right? The nameless protagonist told y'all that plantation model is going global, right? And if the plantation model is going global, then think about what that means, right? Oh, it's drunk white dudes, of course. Of course. Always. You know what? Let's keep on going. Let's keep on going. Let's keep on going. Okay. If that plantation model is going global, then what does that mean for the women? Right? What does that mean for the women? What does that look like? If the races, different colors of women, different races of women are in the cabins outside in the plantation, and they're all, right, looking up at the big house and looking up at Massa. If Massa's the be-all, end-all, if you would love to have Massa's baby, right? Sarge Willie Pete, good, I remembered. Sarge Willie Pete was speaking about mixed Asian and white men, and how they're having, how they have issues with their parents because their dad is racist as crap, even though he has a wife or ex-wife that's East Asian, mainly, right? And then their East Asian mom worships white men. And how these young boys that grow up to men have complexes, right? Right? And what that means for them in their life, right? That's an interesting conversation to be had. You grow up, and as you hit puberty and as you become self-aware, you realize your mom worships white people, and that's why she's with your father. And you also realize your father is not like likable, funny enough, right? But because he's a white man, your mom gave him the white man pass. And now you're a product of that relationship. Imagine that, right? I look down and that's exactly the person I was thinking about, GC. That's exactly the person I was thinking about. And not just him, Daniel Holzclaw too. I'm purposely not saying the name that you put up, GC, but yes. We'll say the consummate gentleman, right? Isn't that what he called himself, or other people called him, right? But Daniel Holzclaw too. He's a product of that type of relationship also. And we could see what he was on. In a relationship with some type of big booby white woman, but you're out here like molesting and raping black women, right? They're exclusively black women, if I'm not mistaken, right? That's that weird power thing. But okay, so the reason why I brought that up is to say this is really what it's been about. And that's why I'm saying because we haven't investigated how colonialism and white supremacy and white men have essentially colonized the mind of women of color. And by the way, this is not even just the East Asian thing. I remember watching a clip, and it's easy to look it up if I remember what I typed in, but it was a South Asian woman. I don't remember if where she was from, if she was Indian or Bangladeshi or whatever the hell, Sri Lankan or whatever. But it was a South Asian woman also speaking about how this white worship in the South Asian community, and like how people act when you come home with a white dude, and how they celebrate this white dude if he can say 2 words in whatever language it was that she native to her. And I just thought to myself, like, this is insane, right? This is insane. And we already know what Amara La Negra said about the Latino community, right? And how it was her mom's friends that were encouraging her to come home with a white dude. So let me get this right. You got black women speaking about the greatness of white dudes. You got Latina women being encouraged to come home with white dudes. You have South Asian women whose family is elated when they come home with a white dude, or at least give them a pass, but they can never come home with a black guy. You have East Asian women who are encouraged and like have all the applause given to them if they come home with a white dude. But all we're doing is chastising men of color. Their package is too small. They're not charismatic enough. They're not open enough. They're not emotionally intelligent. They don't make enough money. They're jealous of white dudes. They're not tall enough. They're not like that's all we're doing is finding weird and interesting ways of critiquing men of color, black men specifically. And yet your daughters who worship at the altar of white Jesus, nothing, right? We have nothing. We have nothing. Your daughters who imitate the vocal fry of a valley white girl, right? And who wish to be her, we have nothing, right? We have nothing. You literally watching a video of a white dude grabbing the hand of an Asian woman in front of her boyfriend and nothing. Really? Once again, like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. That's why, let's tie all of that back. That's why this stuff is dangerous. Because we haven't critiqued anything about women. And I'm somewhat glad that FD Signifier said that in his video about the Black Manosphere, but I don't know how much he really meant it or it was just a throwaway line, right? And then you got Kim from Fort Harriet, never considering that, right? Never considering that. That's weird, bro. And talking about weirdness, our colorist queen herself, right? And what she said a few days ago that I covered, pretty much trying to encourage black women to date out, or at least swirlers and divestors to stop talking about it, be about it. Yeah, how's that working, right? As I said in our video, some of the sisters in the comments of her own video were like, yeah, nah. And even on Kim's video where she spoke about divesting, there were a couple of women in her comments that were honest and said, I'm tired of divesting being like this one-liner that other black women throw out there when you're having issues with black men. And even Amanda Seales addressed that a couple years ago when I guess she was complaining about black men, and sisters were all over her social media telling her to date out. So there are black women that, yeah, they might have their issues with us, but they're honest about like, yo, this is not no like, okay, black man ain't niche, I'm just gonna go date me a white man. I'm just gonna date me a Latino and boom, magic. Right? And that's why I thought what Chrissy was saying was so cringy, because she somewhat prepared black women for the racism that's probably gonna happen when they date Latino or when they date white, or if they date Asian, if they, manage to have that happen. She somewhat like prepared them for that. And that's cringy. It's worse than just throwing out just date out as a one-liner. It's saying, yeah, you might deal with some racist stuff, but just deal with it. And like, just break up with the dude. Like, no, that's real, that's traumatizing. Especially if you're not hunting for an interracial relationship. And then like later on in the relationship, somebody says something racist, his family says something racist, he says something racist, right? And you're just supposed to eat that. In Kim Foster's comment section was a Canadian woman that said like, yo, like this is a thing. Right? A white dude is inevitably going to say something racist. Essentially, I'm giving y'all the shorthand version of what she was saying, right? Him or one of his friends or one of his family is inevitably going to say something messed up. That's why it was so cringy. And I think what's animating a lot of this politics in the black community, and excuse my background, y'all. Right? So a lot of what's animating this conversation in the black not just in the black community, but amongst men and women, but especially in the black community, is the concept of, I call it cosmic justice, where women, more and more women feel like they can say and do and act any kind of way towards men in general, black men specifically, because it's cosmic justice for decades and centuries and millennia of misogyny, of men rule, right? Of sexism towards women. And because they have this ahistorical view of the relationship between men and women, they now think that it's perfectly okay to do anything to men, to be insulting to men, to be belittling to men, to condescend to men, because it's cosmic justice, right? I will remind y'all of the episode of The Talk. Years and years ago, when they were speaking about a man, we'll say, being dismembered, supposedly by his wife or girlfriend, if I'm not mistaken, and the women on the panel started to laugh. Now, they had to come back in, I think the next day or within a week, and apologize, but even the apology was like, reluctant. And Ozzy Osbourne's wife or ex-wife was on that show, and I think she was the main one that was laughing about it, right? I'll remind you of that, because once again, that's tying to what I'm saying about the cosmic justice thing. It was funny. I will remind y'all, there's no way on public daytime television we would be speaking about the mutilation of a woman's privates and the men would bust out laughing. There's no way that would be acceptable. There's no way that would be acceptable. I would argue not just in America, just about anywhere in the Western world would that be acceptable. But once again, women could get away with this and then begrudgingly apologize because of the concept of this cosmic justice, this cosmic retribution, cosmic retribution, right? It's only payback for years and decades and centuries and millennia of sexism towards women. And there's a lot of women, whether they know how to articulate it or not, they're operating from that background music. And that's what makes this entire conversation about men-women relations, especially in America, especially amongst black people, or particularly amongst black people, so fraught, right? Because a lot of black women have adopted this idea of black men being the worst things ever, And they've adopted a notion of black men that they got a lot of from white feminists. And now the cosmic justice and cosmic payback thing, they're all on it. And it's not even just a now, I'm sorry for saying that. They're all on this cosmic justice and cosmic payback. So this also helps them to justify why they can speak to black men any kind of way. Once again, I will direct you to how Vivica A. Fox was trying to give passes to the therapist, right? Because for her, it's like, well, black men could talk to black men like this. Why can't a sister talk to black men like this, right? Why can't we talk to them like they ain't crap too? Why can't we condescend to them? Why can't we be mean to them? What's wrong with that? That's my right as a black woman. That's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be mean to them. And even with the lightest disagreement from Lisa Ray and the other sister, I can't remember her name, Vivica A. Fox's face, she wasn't having it. And that's a perfect example of what I'm saying. I reserve the right to talk to black men any type of crazy. This lady ain't never had no kids, been married once, missed and blew the last train going with 50, and she still don't understand how her fucking attitude is the problem. Because you still think you the character in that damn movie. What was it? The player movie that she was in. I'm not talking about Lisa Ray. I'm talking about Vivica A. Fox. That what movie was it? Was it with Taye Diggs? I can't remember what movie, what the name of the movie was again. But yeah, she still thinks she that damn character. Lady, you damn 60. Right? Once again, like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. Right? That's what makes this so dangerous. Like, you're excusing the therapist talking to black men crazy. Low key, not even excusing, encouraging it. Right? Excuse my background once again. Right? That's what makes this so dangerous. Right? So until we start speaking about the environment, you're going to continue having this happen. So this is where I agree with Kim Foster a million. I don't see this reversing, but I think this hurts women way more than Kim believes. That's the thing. This is where I disagree with her. She didn't overtly say this, but it was kind of in the subtext of what she was saying. You keep on talking like men are going to be these lonely dogs and women are going to be out here living their best life. And I think you know better, and I don't think you actually believe that, but that was kind of in the background of what you were saying in that video you posted. The problem is, are women really going to be dealing with this loneliness epidemic as well as you think? And if not, then what does that mean for overall society? Because we already got it pegged what the men are going to be on, right? So we think. We already think we know what the men are going to be on. They're going to be violent. They're going to be terrorists. They're going to be doing all type of craziness. They're going to harm children and women and da-da-da-da. And they're going to pull back all these women rights. That's white men, by the way. Black men could care less. We never had the power. And if we did, I promise you we wouldn't be doing this. That's white men, by the way. But the same white men, half of your subscribers probably worship. But okay, let's keep on going, right? So we're going to hyper investigate, I'll call it, the men, and we're just gonna all the women are just gonna be perfectly okay, or they're not gonna be violent, they're not gonna harm children, they're not gonna harm men. So when Kevin Samuels passes and black women dance on his grave, what do we call that? Okay. Huh? When black women are talking about abort black babies, abort black male sons, excuse me, what do we call that? When black women are speaking about killing black men for looking at them the wrong way, what do we call that? When black women have pictures of a black man hanging from one side of the tree while a black little girl swings from the other side of the tree, what do we call that? The more and more black women we see killing their black male partners, what do we call that? The black woman that killed her black male partner because he was about to break up with her, and that's an increasing story, by the way, what do we call that? Shout out to that white woman that said ghosting is violent, or ghosting is abusive. No, she said ghosting is abusive. She didn't say violent. That's why we be ghosting. What do we call that, Kim? Oh, that's not violence, huh? Right? The black women that say they get turned on by watching white racist police officers beat up on black men, what do we call that? So while you're over here speaking about how the black men are, excuse me, you didn't say black men, the men are gonna get violent and they're gonna do this and they're gonna pull back laws because they're lonely and da da da. Look at all the foolishness going on with the women. What do you call that? Right? What do you call that, Kim? Right? You got women offing themselves and their children because we hear the stories of the men who off themselves and the children because she done found a new man and she's about to get married. There's a few of those stories also on the other side. What do you call that, Kim? Y'all gotta stop speaking about women like they're not human beings and they're not capable of jealousy, anger, rage, resentment, violence. Not just to women and children, but to men also. They're not only jealous of women, they're jealous of men also. Y'all gotta stop talking like this is not a thing. Like women are these holier than thou, supremely virtuous beings, right? More virtuous than men, they're kinder than men, they're nicer than men, they're smarter than men, they work harder than men, they're more studious than men. And men are these monsters, these selfish, angry, bitter monsters. Y'all gotta stop talking about men like that because there's so much evidence that shows that's not true. So while all the men are gonna be violent because they're lonely, you sure you wanna have that conversation? Because in your own comment thread is a bunch of bitter, lonely sisters talking crazy. And they don't even sound as bad as some of the other spaces where black women congregate online. So are you sure you want to have that conversation? Because I agree with you that I don't see this rolling back anytime soon. But don't make it seem like this is some one-sided stuff. Men won't get their act together, so we're just deciding to be single and everything's gonna be, yeah, it ain't gonna be that great for us, but we'll deal with it better than the men. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? All this network women can't claim to have. Women do got a network, but what that network look like when y'all don't got no kids? Increasingly. What that network look like when more and more of us are put in a position to compete with each other? Huh? What that network look like? When you working 12 and 15 hours a day. And you got a gig job. What that network look like, Kim? Y'all, I don't know, these movies, these TV shows, these YouTube think pieces got y'all not really questioning what the hell y'all are doing. Y'all are so busy saying the men ain't ish and finding really verbose ways of saying it and intellectualizing it that you never actually consider how this is gonna hurt you. How neoliberalism is hurting you and is going to continue to hurt you. How late-stage capitalism is hurting you and is going to continue to hurt you. How this hyper competition is hurting you and is continuingly going to hurt you. Right? Too busy talking crap about the men. Right? Too busy talking crap about the men. Overly critiquing the men. All right. How is this going to look in the next 2-3 decades? Didn't was it the Washington Post, the New York? It was one of the bigger publications that said something like black wealth hitting an average of zero wealth in by 2053. Which, by the way, they posted before COVID, so you know that's been expedited. How is that going to affect women? What's your network look like when your overall wealth is zero? See, Kim is a little bit better than the rest of them, than some of them, right? So is Julesy, so is Khadijah, right? So is nappy-headed jojoba. But are y'all having the conversation about how this is really, because all I hear is like toxic positivity, right? That's what I hear, like toxic positivity. Like keep your head up, it's gonna be all right type talk. Because we can't tell people this shit's about to look real ugly. And Kim kind of danced on it a little bit when she said she don't see this rolling back. She said it a little bit. She didn't really speak about how it's really gonna look though. This is gonna look real ugly. Kim, the fastest growing homelessness rate is black women and children. Black women and children. Y'all talking about how men are gonna be violent. Black women and children. Right? What network? Yeah, your network might be a little bit better than the men. Fastest growing homelessness rate. Right? The same group of people that's telling men, because y'all don't want to show up for us like this, we'll just work on our hobbies and we got a network and all right. Something you learn, right? And maybe because like I like playing racing games and stuff like that, I've learned how to consider what the other person has, right? Their weaponry, if you will. For us racing guys, we know like, if you're playing Forza or you're playing Gran Turismo, you see a certain car get on the track, you're like, okay, he's lighter. I know he got wider wheels, but I know that means that he don't got that much power, right? So like, he's gonna kill me on the corners, maybe, but depending on the straightaway, what track are we going on? Okay, so I need more torque because I need to come out the corners faster, and I need to get ahead of him by the corners, and I need to be in front of him so I can block him up and slow him down on the corners so that when he passes me, I'm not that far behind, and then once I get back on the straightaway, I could pass him, right? Or vice versa. He's faster than me on the straightaways, so I gotta make sure to get in the corners before him because he's gonna slow me up in the corners, right, and block me, and then if he's able to do that too many times, I'm never gonna be able to pass him because he's gonna keep on gapping me on the straights. I gotta get out the corner before he does, right? You learn these things. In other words, you know what the other person got. And for people like me who play racing games, you're not on the track with only just one other person online. You're on the track with 12 other people, 10 other people, 8 other people, 15 other people who are crashing into each other, who got vendettas because of the last race where somebody hit somebody, who got who know what you got, right? Who know the track as well as you do or better. They know that on this corner they could skip over the skid pad a little bit more. They know how to take this corner also. What am I saying? That's life. So women like you, Kim, are speaking like y'all got all the cards. Or y'all got most of the cards. And the lonely man thing is emblematic of that, is an example of that. You've never considered that men being indifferent, yeah, we know we gotta take some casualties in this back and forth. We know we gotta take some casualties, but y'all have never considered what the casualties look like on your side. Something I don't want, by the way, I don't like this gender back and forth. That's why I brought up the whole thing about social media and what we're doing with it and how it's kind of BS. I don't like this back and forth, but if we're going to have this back and forth, just consider what this means for black women who are watching rage porn content while also watching this level up content, while also watching black women and other women unbag some Louis Vuitton bag that costs $2,000 and $3,000 and $4,000 and getting off on that, while also watching these think pieces that essentially boil down to black men ain't ish or men ain't ish, right? So they're watching this content to psychologically deal with what's actually going on in the environment and in their life. Meanwhile, an increasing amount of them are on antidepressant pills. You want to talk about black men being lonely and men being lonely. Once again, excuse my background, right? So you want to talk about that, but look at what's going on, right? It's not smart. This conversation that's happening between men and women, especially in the West, we can see where this is leading to. Korea's ahead of us, you can see where it's leading to. Japan is ahead of us, you can see where this is leading to. You're not gonna be able to break the will of the men. They're just gonna become indifferent. And South Korea is seeing how that's hurting them. Literally, they had mini docs speaking about, we can't afford to float these women if men don't marry them. We don't even know, we don't know what to do. And this is South Korea, this is not some underdeveloped nation. They have social safety nets, they have the things, but they don't have enough for all of these women who don't make real money, aging into their version of Social Security, and then what? So Kim, what you saying? Yeah, it sound nice. Is it gonna be that nice? Right? Once again, like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. Right? Is it gonna be that nice? Like I said, that's why I brought up the racing game analogy. Do you have all the cards in your hand you think you have? And this, like, Kim, look at your life. Kim is all right looking sister. She's smart, she's witty, right? She got her own place, she making money. Relationship though. You claiming you have this, you claiming network and friends and hobbies and blah, blah, blah. Sounding a whole lot like Chrissy too. Isn't that what Chrissy just told us like a few weeks ago? She's enjoying her views, but her relationship life is trash. What's the point then? The reason why y'all slip up and say those type of things is because you're not as happy as you're putting on. And it slips out. And it slips out. See, y'all, what you focus on is the threat of men of pulling resources. And because you keep on claiming that men don't offer real emotional support and men are not emotionally intelligent, you forget all the other things we bring to the table, like stability. And I'm not talking about financial stability, the emotional stability, the stoicism, right? You forget that part. You put that on a discount. You talk about emotional labor like women are the only ones lifting. You forget that part. And that's why when you and Chrissy and other content creators, y'all slip up sometimes. Paris Milan has done this too. Y'all slip up sometimes and kind of let us know how miserable y'all are single. Sometimes y'all do it within the same statement or two of saying you are right. Y'all are all making decent, good-ass YouTube money. Y'all making good-ass YouTube money. And y'all slip up and tell us how not happy y'all really are being single. Or how trash your relationship life is. Within a statement or two of telling us, I could do it, essentially I could do bad all by myself. Bro. If you're a millennial or Gen Z, your mom said the same thing. Your grandma said the same thing. They were not happy. Y'all keep on acting like this is new. We watched our moms and our grandmothers do this. They weren't happy. That I could do bad all by myself. You just because you're not using those exact words, you're literally saying the same thing. You're just saying it with different words. Our moms just did that 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 30 years ago. Our mothers literally just did the same thing. Our aunts literally just did the same thing. Our grandmothers literally just did the same thing. How short is your memory? Our mothers and aunts literally just did the same thing. Now they're in their 50s, 60s, still not happy, still single for many of them. And then some of the younger folks are coming up behind them, the younger women coming up behind them. Y'all watching your mothers listen to Kevin Samuels and agree with him, and y'all don't know why. Because your mom was the I could do bad all by myself. Your mothers either split into two. They become Vivica A. Fox or they become Kevin Samuels watchers. Right? Or they might be Ian Furburgers. That's a different conversation. They either triple and quadruple down and become Vivica A. Fox, or they watch Kevin Samuels. Yes, I'm putting a binary there. Our mothers and our aunts and our grandmothers were literally saying this. I said this like 3 or 4 times now. I'm gonna say it one more time. Our mothers, our aunts, and our grandmothers just did this 2 and 3 decades ago. They literally just did that. I can do bad all by myself. Kim, you're literally saying that. Chrissy, you're literally saying that. Right? Real Talk with Yanni, you're literally saying that. Paris Milan, you're literally saying that. Y'all are literally saying the same thing. Do your mothers, maybe not your mothers individually specifically, but do y'all mothers, I'm talking about the generation of black women that are around my age, mid-30s, early 40s, right? All the way to about 25 years old. Do our moms look happy right now? Do our grandmothers look happy right now? Some of them are. Some. But as a generation, do they look happy right now? That's the I can do bad all by myself. The younger boomers, the Xers, they look happy right now? And they at least had children and grandchildren. What about us? Ooh. Huh? I remember watching a special. I think I'm getting ready to close down, you guys. I'm about to shut it down. I'm gonna read you guys' comments before I jump off. Once again, like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. But if I could find this again, it's gonna be hard because I remember I watched this. I've watched it a few times over the past few years, but I can't remember what I typed to bring it up over the past few years, and that's if it's even still on YouTube. But it was a panel of white women, and it was younger and older women, and one of the women sounded a bit somber. These are accomplished women, right? And it was a younger woman on the panel. It was an older woman on the panel. It was a couple of older women on the panel. And one of the older women told the younger women, look, men are like a train. And when you're young, and I've used this analogy before, the train is coming every 5 minutes and men are just falling off the train, right? And you could pick anyone and they're just falling off the train. And as you get older, that train goes from 5 minutes to 10 minutes, 10 minutes to 30 minutes, 30 minutes to an hour to every 3 or 5 hours, every 5 hours to every day to every week. I'm adding extra because I remember if she said it exactly like that. I think I say it better than her anyway. But, right? And not only is the interval getting longer and longer, but less men are getting off the train, right? That's the position a lot of women are put in, and older women don't tell younger women that. Older women do not tell younger women that. And now we're in the era where young women are telling younger women some insanity, and they never ever think about that. You got the young woman, I think, who posted this? Was it Pink Book Lessons? It was one of them, or Chantel Monet. One of them posted the young woman, I think she was 20, and she said she was 20. She said, if I get 40, yeah, my standards are gonna raise. I'm gonna want even more. I'm gonna be even more expensive and all this other stuff, right? And she was being extra sassy with it. And I'm like, you don't get it. And the sisters that's a little bit older than you, that's like 35, 30, they're not even telling you that don't work. And the ones that are 40 and 45 are not telling you that don't work. So we got to be very clear that in this space, at least in the Black manosphere, at least on the side of the Black manosphere that I occupy, we have real conversations with the brothers about aging, right? Me and my coworkers, we were talking and we were like, yo, we don't move the way we used to move when we was 22, and we're in our mid 30s. So we are very honest about aging and the aging process, right? The slowing up of our metabolism. I just told BGS the other day when I was talking about Popeyes. Yeah, I got this gut on me now. My metabolism is still pretty fast, but it's not what it was at 22. Right? We're very honest about what that means for our dating life, for our sex life. Men joke about the blue pill all the time. Right? Unc, you about to go get that blue pill? Yeah, man, I'm about to, I gotta go see this chick real quick. We joke about that because we're honest about the aging process. We're honest about what it means for our physicality. We're honest about what it means about our sex life. We're honest what it means about our income, right? We're honest about that over here. Meanwhile, outside of this one white woman speaking to a younger white woman about the dating process, I don't see women, forget race, being honest with women about that. They're trying to shame, like that model that was complaining a few months ago about this, right? Or a year ago about this. The ageism of a man. She's walking into places and men are ignoring her, right? And that was a white model. Outside of that, and still she's not having a conversation with the women. She's trying to shame the men into pretty much treating her like how they treated her when she was 23 years old and 25 years old, and throwing themselves at her. So she's still not being honest with women. She's trying to shame the men. Meanwhile, you got Kim and Chrissy and all these other women lying about the aging process. Not being honest and saying, you know what, dudes are still trying to pipe. But even that's not happening like how it used to. And they ain't giving what they would have given when you were 23 and 25 and 27 maybe. They're not even being honest with the women about this. So add that to another layer of why what's going on in this environment is very dangerous. Forget about the men for a second. To the women, you got the media ego stroking you and placating you. The education system is ego stroking you and placating you. Other women are ego stroking you and placating you. Men who hope to get the box inadvertently from you are ego stroking you and placating you. Right? The simps are ego stroking you and placating you. Everybody's ego stroking you and placating you, and that clock is ticking down. And then everybody's beating up on men that talk about winter is here, or the Kevin Samuels of the world and all that other stuff, or winter is coming. Everybody's beating up on the men for saying that. Meanwhile, it literally is coming for women every day. And nobody's being honest to the women about what that means, except for this like one white woman that I found talking to a younger white woman on a panel and telling her, hey, I'm telling you, you're gonna go from this time where men are falling off the train every minute, every 5 minutes, to when you're around my age and that train comes seldomly and it's not nearly as many men falling off of it. You see the difference between Kim, who's in her early 30s, and this woman? That's why I feel, as a person in their mid-30s, I feel sad for the Pookies and the JoJos of the world in their early and mid-20s. Because my age group had so many women lying to them. The media lying to them, the entire society lying to them. Now they're mad as hell because they're looking down the pike and they look like they're gonna have to work for the rest of their life. They didn't even have, my age group didn't have social media the way it is now at 10 years old. At 12 years old, MySpace really became popping when we were like 14 years old. At least for me, it's like 13, 14, 15 years old, right? We didn't have that from the jump. The Pookie age group grew up with, MySpace wasn't even a thing by the time they were 10 years old, right? So now they're being placated every single day now on social media. In a weird way, I actually kind of feel sad for the younger women too. I'm not gonna lie. I do kind of feel sad for them because the reality is gonna hit them so hard because everybody's placating them. The reality is gonna hit. There's a few people that's not so much, right? Like I said, Julesy is not so much. Nappy Headed Jojoba is not so much, right? Khadijah kind of, not kind of, But the reality is gonna hit them so hard. Especially because people like Chrissy and Paris Milan and Real Talk with Yanni been BSing them. Essentially, if a dude can't pay for everything, what the hell you doing with him? And then while we living through hyperinflation, they saying that, by the way. Like I told you about the COVID recession, while we were going through COVID, while we were in the middle of Armageddon, didn't know what was gonna happen on the planet, you got these people talking about what they not selling it for. And even post-COVID, you got Chrissy and Paris Milan and Real Talk with Yanni talking crazy. So these 20-something-year-old women, they're about to feel it. You got your head filled up with all this BS. Why y'all doing the quiet resignation thing? With hyperinflation? With America practices its own version of laying flat? Because nobody want to tell the women the truth? You better partner up with a man? Let's see who's in a better position statistically in the next 20, 30 years. The women who got married and stayed married, or the women who stayed single? Because everybody talking about women's life expectancy and y'all do better with us. Y'all do better with us too. Well, we live longer with you. That quality of life though. You say you live longer without us. That quality of life. And that's for a particular group of women. You trying to tell me lower middle class women are living better without men? Poor women are living better without men? Really? Or are y'all sure about that? Or is that study primarily looking at white women? Ooh. Y'all want to have that conversation? Because poor and lower middle class black women are living better lives without men, right? Y'all want to have that conversation? So you trying to tell me I'm scouring. I live on YouTube, everyone. I'm at work, literally working, not just talking, literally working, listening to podcasts, listening to lectures, right? I'm all over YouTube, and I could only find like one or two of these things where a woman is not trying to be on some, ultra conservative, kiss men's ass type thing, but literally telling women, hey, I'm telling you, word to the wise, y'all better, if you want to pair up with a man, if you want to be married, understand how these things go, right? And then I just realized something I just said. The same black women who chastise and beat up on black men for not marrying them early enough, right? Refuse to tell other black women to pair up early enough. These same women who say, look how early white women get married. The average age for marriage in America is 27.8. I know that number by heart, by the way, right? It's 28 years old, it's 27 years old. And yet for black women, it's what, 35, 34 or something like that? Those same women refuse to tell black women, black younger women, to hurry up and find them a man as early as possible, right? Y'all the same ones. But yet the white woman, at least from what I've saw so far, are telling other young white women, and that white woman, the younger white woman is still a college grad, so she wasn't young. She was somewhere in her later 20s. Still telling her, hey, word to the wise, this is how it goes. Men falling off the train every 5 minutes, and as you get older, that train stop happens from every 5 minutes to every 10 minutes to every 30 minutes to every hour to every 5 hours to every day. Right? And it was a really good analogy. That was a really good analogy. She didn't say it stops. She just says it happens less and less often, and the quality of men is different. Where are the black women telling black women that? No, you're too busy chastising the men for not making enough. We're going to see what that looked like in the next couple decades. Kim, Chrissy, Paris Milan, Real Talk with Yanni. We're going to see what your words look like for your own subscribers in the next couple decades, because all of us are still under the age of 30, if I'm not mistaken. Chrissy might be the oldest out of the group I just mentioned. We're all somewhere in our 30s, maybe even 20s for Paris Milan, right? We're all somewhere in that age group, under 40, maybe 41, the oldest. I don't even think Chrissy's that old. I think Chrissy's around the same age as Sergeant Willie Pete and Charles. Somewhere in that late 30s, maybe 40 years old, right? We'll see in the next 2 decades. By the time all of us are 60 or approaching 60 years old, maybe a little bit over 60, we'll see how your words actually affected your subscribers. Because Mr. Z don't tell black men, it's all hunky-dory being single. You're better being single. It depends on the situation whether you're better being single. I don't tell them that a black woman or a woman got to be damn near perfect for you to consider her. And pretty much none of us say that in the black manosphere, right? We don't say, hey, do you, like Chrissy kind of said it. She didn't say it, but she kind of said it. Eat that racist crap. We don't say that over here. At least not on the side of the black manosphere I'm on. Right? We don't say that over here. So we'll see what all of our words look like in the next couple decades. Right? We'll see. Because y'all talking to y'all subscribers like they're not gonna age. Right? Even some of your own subscribers said they're tired of these one-liner, this just go date out one-liners. Some of your more sane subscribers say they can't do it no more. They have to unsubscribe to some of y'all. And I put money on it. Most of those sisters, let me not say most, I would say a sizable portion of those sisters are sisters that actually attend high school and college and PWIs in a mixed environment. Because they're around the white dudes and the Latino dudes and maybe even the Asian dudes. And they know what it really is. So they know y'all full of crap. In the black manosphere, some of us work with white men. We go to happy hour with white men. We've been on different sports teams with white men and white boys, right? Just like y'all know white women maybe a little bit better than us, we know white men and Latino men better than y'all. We've worked with these people, we've joked with them, we've gone to happy hour with them, we've gone out of town with them, we've chilled with them, we smoke with them, we drink with them. When we tell y'all don't really know what y'all talking about with this supposed swirl of divestment thing, it's not just a threat. It's not to scare you into staying. And there's some black women that know it. And these are not some hotep black women or what y'all would call mammies or anything like that. And that's why I brought up the aging thing. The white woman was being very honest with the younger white woman about what happens and how this goes. Meanwhile, y'all trying to protect your goddamn subscribers' egos and prides and emotion, and y'all not being honest. Y'all are not being honest. So what? Black girls and women are supposed to age gap date, be 35 years old, dating a 50-year-old white dude, and be perfectly okay with that because they didn't team up and end up in a relationship with a black man when they were 30 or 28 or 29 or 27 or 25. So now they're 35, panic mode, and now they got them a little white sugar daddy that they hoping croaks at least in the next decade. Because women like y'all weren't honest with them. Because you all you wanted to do was protect their emotions, right? Black men are being so mean, right? Black men are being so mean. Black men are sexist. Black men are misogynist. Black men are this and black men are that. And so you try to counter it with a bunch of BS. All right, like I said, we're not that old. We're not young, but we're not that old. Let's see what all of your rhetoric gets your subscribers in the next 2-3 decades. Let's see. I'm about to come to a close, you guys. Let me read some of these comments. Let's see what these comments look like. Let's see. Oh boy, I missed a lot. I missed a lot. Let's see something. Let's start from. I already read that. Black woman social worker, hysterical. Jamil said, I'm with you. It's wild. We hear from liberals and feminists, I know what you're saying, talking against colonialism, but they got kind words for the queen. Exactly. For those of you that don't know, earlier I spoke about the queen and her passing and how people sounded about her passing, right? Yeah, let's see what else we got. That's like saying it's not like she stole the gold from Africa and the queen just didn't give it back. I know, right? Like, isn't the what is it called, the Star of Africa? Isn't that like isn't that like on the queen's scepter? It's like one of the biggest pieces of diamond they ever like dug out the ground. I think it was either from South Africa or around that area, right? Okay. We need divestors on the panel to draw him out. Hysterical. Crazy how we as a society value emoting over understanding each other. Ooh, okay, God damn it. Now you're gonna make it, now I gotta address that for real. Because they don't actually care about understanding you. They just wanna emote and you eat that. And you do your nodding and your and your yes dears, right? And if you have anything to say and if they're willing to hear what you're saying, you emote and speak just like them, you know, with the fake ass Valley Girl vocal fry and speaking about it for like 8 hours just to say absolutely nothing, right? It's actually really insulting to say because someone doesn't move and speak and act just like you or something exactly to your liking, that they're not doing it correctly. I'm around a bunch of different other men in the black manosphere, right? Excuse me, y'all. Imagine me complaining that you guys don't think and move and act and you know, comport yourselves the way I do, so you're doing it wrong, right? So you're doing it wrong. And that's exactly what they're pretty much saying. GC said, people say the internet ain't real, but in reality, the internet is a window into how people really think, feel. Exactly. 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 That feeling of anonymity causes people to say all type of stuff that they really think and feel, right? And are some people trolling and being extra? Of course. But aren't people extra in real life? Don't people troll in real life? So, hey. Mm. Let me see. I'm reading through you guys. Spain Man said, "Ha, black men were the model minority. Now, oh yeah, okay, I get what you're saying. Ha ha, black men, we're the model minority now, and you're still dusty. Nah, 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 boo boo." Exactly. That's essentially what black women are doing. We're seen as the moral compass of the country and of the society, and we're gonna milk this for everything it's worth. And what that means is whatever childhood trauma and childhood resentment and anger and rage we got towards you from childhood and from young adulthood and maybe just from adulthood, we're gonna bring you in for some verbal abuse and some media portrayal abuse and some just maybe even physical abuse every chance we get. Because certain parts of this society are willing to weaponize us against you, and we fully know that's what they're doing, we're going to take advantage of it. And even if that means that this is going to hurt, in the long run, this is going to hurt the majority of black women. The handful of us that make it out, even if this hurts the majority of black women, we don't care. We're just trying to burn you, black man. Did I miss Cynthia G versus Dr. Umar? I didn't even know that was a thing. I predict a rise in black women mass deleters and self-deleters. I'm seeing them in the news for that almost daily. Oh, for shootings almost daily. Yeah. And you know, our society's not going to speak on that, just like they don't speak on the L in LGBTQ domestic violence. Then, just like they don't speak about that rate, they're not going to speak about that, right? And I don't want to sound like the white dude that does the whole "what about black on black crime" thing. That's not what I'm doing. What I am saying is, because this thing has gone non-critiqued and we don't have a real conversation about what, like I said, white supremacy did to the minds of black women, what white colonialism did to the minds of black women and other women of color, all of these things, it's allowed black women to really think of themselves, and because the society pretty much told them this, to really think of themselves as holier than thou. And that's put them, before you even speak about us, that's put them in a messed up position, because they don't have to be self-critical. They don't have to be introspective. And that's put them in just the most horrendous position, because they really think that they are the moral arbiters of the world, right? And if you don't have to be introspective, you can do all type of heinous stuff and always justify it. You could do things that even hurt yourself and somehow blame someone else. What was I watching that had nothing to do with black men, and one of these content creators somehow brought up black men? Was it a Paris Milan thing? I think it was Paris Milan. I don't remember what she was speaking about. And then, like, when I say it had nothing to do with black men, it didn't even have anything to do with black people, I don't think. And somehow black men got mentioned. They can't help it. As you come in, like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat, right? So I agree with you, Spain Man, that I think that's going to be a thing, right? And, like, if we're speaking about this mass epidemic of loneliness, which is sad, like, before we even get to race or gender or sexuality, it's messed up that we live in this particular time in our society when and Kim was right about this, social media was supposed to connect us, but it's allowed for people to get into their echo chambers and regurgitate the same crap to each other over and over again. She didn't say all of that part, I'm saying this now. and radicalize themselves and radicalize each other on social media. Um, this is a kind of a really sad state of affairs we're in as a human race, right? It's really sad, actually. I mean, and this is why I kind of rail against the economic structure we're in. People are being squeezed economically, and the bit of me that's like somewhat elitist doesn't know if I trust people to their own devices with these type of things. So because men aren't making the type of money they used to, what I mean by that is like a huge ass income gap, which it's funny women fighting to close the income gap, but then railing against men because the income gap is closing. It's like, yo, choose one, bro, choose one. So because the income gap is closing, and women, I mean, let me call a thing, because men can't buy women the way they used to anymore. It's causing all type of just chaos in the society. And then you couple that with social media, and then you couple that with these ego strokers and placating on social media when it comes to women. You just keep on adding on all the insanity, and you kind of get to where we are now, right? You get to where we are now. Yeah. And I think as much as we speak about how men are having a problem dealing with this kind of new normal, we're not speaking about how women have a problem dealing with this new normal. And that's a problem within itself. Jamil said it's not being shown on a grand scale. If broads are left to their own devices, they will destroy any and everything, all in the name of a feeling. Yeah. Yep. Yep. And we don't know how to address that. We do not know how to address that. Right? And that's yeah, that's a problem. Art of Immort said, I got turned on just now. I know you were talking about one of the car sounds. I'm almost certain that's what you were speaking about. Spainman said, I'm almost convinced. I'm convinced DZ is the evil variant of Lisa C. I know who you mean by DZ. I don't know if I know who you mean by Lisa C though. I don't know if you know. Oh, okay. Thank you, Detroit. It was a Rolling Stone article. Yeah, Rolling Stone for Paris Malone, but I don't remember who got in contact. If it was Rolling Stone again for Lexus Exodus. GC, that might be an idea. GC says, to be honest, we need to start airing them out to these huge platforms for the vile things they've said. And it's because, like, as a black person, as a black man, I'm not about snitching, right? What do they say? Snitches end up with stitches. No snitching campaign. Like, I'm from the Cameron era, but like, it might have to be done because y'all getting crazy with the rhetoric, and like it's spilling out into the real society. Once again, look at the therapist, and that was light. She wasn't even like necessarily advocating for violence against black men, but some of you are. And like, if we got to snitch on you and get you deplatformed, so be it. And it's kind of messed up. Like, I would rather not. But if y'all over here advocating to abort black sons and like shoot black men or kill black men, like, yeah, you might have to be deplatformed, player. Go sit down in the corner and think about your act. What they say, go sit down and think about what you did, right? Yeah, you might. We might. Damn, it sucks. I'm once again, I'm from the Cameron era, no snitching, but hey, it might have to be done. Okay, Kevin C. Thank you, Kevin C. Kevin C says the Falkland Islands are said to have one of the world's largest reserves of oil. The British Geological Survey estimates the oil at About 60 billion barrels. Oh, okay. It's why the British fought to keep it. Oh, okay. So that's why they fought Argentina to keep it. Thank you, Kevin C. See, military man coming in for me. Coming through. Thanks, Kevin C. GC said, thank God I have my passport. Once again, thank you, Kevin C. So that puts a lot of things in um, perspective for me, because remember I was born in '86, so I didn't know that part. I didn't know that part. Yeah. GC said Snoop got humbled quick. Yeah. Yep. And the whole country, the whole world, because Kobe had fans around the planet, watched Susan Rice say that to Snoop, because Snoop got fans around the planet, and nobody said anything. Everyone watched Susan Rice pull that stunt, and no, first of all, let's rewind. Everybody watched Gail pull that stunt, and no, and the black manosphere and black men made us think about it. But outside of us, nobody said anything. And then we watched Susan Rice's response to Snoop's response, and no one said anything. Because the world likes watching black women son black men. The world not even just likes it, the world encourages black women to son black men. And now black women think it's their right, their God-given right to do it. I'm still saying that wrong. I gotta say this even more. They're ordained by God to son black men. They're supposed to do it. Yep. The 18th letter. We have to understand that these women are fighting for power and are no different than white men. If white men came to them with a proposition to get black deleted out of the way, they would take it. I know what you mean, black men. Yes. Some of them would. A nice chunk. I'm not gonna say, not this one, I'm not gonna say all, because I don't think it's all. But a small majority or a large minority, hell yeah. Hell yeah. I've played with the thought of, like, what happened if we were to if we were to Thanos snap all black men out of America, and black men in Africa could not be imported here, or black men from the Caribbean, right? What would black women's lives be like? And I want any black woman that's listening to me, be honest with yourself. Don't give yourself just that, we would be so much better without you. Oh my God, white men would elevate us to the moon. Be honest with yourself. Think about it. Really think about it. If I was to Thanos snap every black man from about Logic's color, so even the racially ambiguous, he looks white black men, all the way to midnight black men, right? If I was to Thanos every black man out of America right now, what would your lives be like from day one to, like, let's say within 3 or 4 decades in? Let's say 4 decades in. What would black women become? Would black women just be absorbed by the dominant society? Would white men be like, okay, our war with black people is over. We're just gonna marry all of these black women and make them honest wives and girlfriends? Would that happen? Or would black women be sequestered into, and when I say that, I mean no black sons born either. I mean, like, the black male lineage in America is done. It's done, right? What would that mean for black women? Or and the rest of my statement was, would black women be sequestered off into ghettos in major cities and just die off with their daughters? Or would there be some kind of hybrid of both? Or would black women just mainly be the L and LGBTQ, and a handful of y'all end up with non-black men, and then the rest of y'all kind of, when you die, that's it. That's the end. That's a really good, yeah, I've considered that before. What happens if black men just disappear? What would happen? Or what would happen if black men around the planet disappear? All black men, from the Caribbean to South America to Africa to Americas to any of us in East Asia or South Asia. What would happen if we just snapped and all couple billion of us just disappeared off the planet? You know? Joe said, I don't know why they think only females watch their shows. Men see it too, and that adds up. True. Jamil said, I would argue they don't care if men see what they're saying. They know hashtag they know, hashtag they don't care. Yeah, yeah, I see that. I'll agree. I'll agree. GC, I agree. I agree. GC said we need more of these broads getting fired. It's the only way they'll learn. I agree. I mean, the thoughts wouldn't stop. They'll just have to bring it back to the hair salon, right? But in the nail salon and whatnot. But yeah, you're right about that. You're right about that. And that's sad, actually. They're so used to like talking crazy about black men that they don't really know how else to deal with black men, right? And that's sad. That yeah, that you have to get fired to consider. And you know what the crazy part? The therapist showed us even when they get fired, they still don't humble themselves because, like I said, they think like they're ordained by God to son us and to talk to us that way. And that's why notice the therapists don't feel any kind of way about that. Vivica A. Fox got mad about it. Paris Milan got mad about it. Chrissy, only thing was stop showing your face if you're gonna talk crazy like this. So she don't feel like there's anything wrong with it either. Like I said, they think they're ordained by God to speak to you this way. Yeah. Yeah, let me keep on reading. GC said, Mr. Z worked some odd work hours. Man, I'm always at work. AB Media, what's going on, AB? AB said, what are your thoughts on Pander African Umar versus Iron Bang Cynthia? So okay, I gotta follow this story. Like I said earlier, I didn't know there was a thing between them. I did not know. So yeah, AB, you give me a few days. Let me do some, digging, and then, I might have a thought about that. But I didn't know there was a thing between them. It's nearly impossible to get black women canceled. Just like one singer had to apologize after she said something about Joe Rogan and Spotify. I think I remember that story. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, when they're this overt, like the therapist was, and another black woman said something about it, then maybe, right? Then maybe. Which speaks to, that's interesting to me. We watch as white society puts its thumb on the scales for women, and it takes another black woman calling that shit out, right? And yet other black women still miss that, or they, better yet, ignore it, right? You're not getting into your position simply and only because you work hard and you're smarter and you're more, studious and all this other stuff. No, it's because white society has the thumb on the scales for you, and they continue to show you that. But then that ends up biting you in the rear end in the long run, because now you claim you can't be with men on your level or below and blah, 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 blah. And then you end up being single for a couple decades, right? So this still, like I keep on saying, these things in the long run bite black women right back in the rear end. Because when you help the women, all you do is help the women. Not even the kids. Definitely not the boys. It's when you help the men, you help everyone. When you help the women, you just help the women, which ends up biting them in the rear end in the long run anyway. That sucks. Which also speaks to what Chrissy was saying about, there's only 6% of us in the country, and there's some 30% of something. That's what she was speaking to. I don't remember if she said the percentage or the raw numbers, right? Like 22 million black women and like a couple 100 million white men, and like all black women need is one. And I'm like, yeah, but what you're missing, Chrissy, is like how racist this society is. Like you really miss it. I think you know the society is racist, you just miss how racist it is, right? Okay, let's keep on reading. Okay, let's keep on reading. Where are we? Where are we? I lost where I was. I'm looking again. Jamil said Zaddy is the universally accepted preference. Yeah, yeah, and that's okay. They conquered, raped, pillaged, and reworked the entire planet between the Western Europeans and America, right? That's cool. But women are gonna have to deal with the fact that, for the most part, these dudes are still anti-women of color. For the most part, black women are gonna have to deal with the fact that these men are particularly anti-black women, or anti-black period, which includes black women, right? The numbers just don't work in their favor for women of color, generally speaking, black women specifically, and other darker skinned women. They're just gonna forget everything else. These men are too damn racist, and the numbers don't work in your favor. For the most part, that's it. Like Chrissy and DZ and Lexus Exodus and Mahogany Pink it just does not work in your favor. And the fact that now y'all are trying to get comfortable with just being single for perpetually single, I mean, that's going to be something I think the society's going to definitely have to get used to. Just men and women being perpetually single, right? And and that's something I should have brought up too. This is very interesting. Kim brought up the fact that the sexlessness rate, right, amongst men in particular, and she brought, well, the women are still having sex. Do you understand you just made a manosphere talking point? Maybe you didn't realize that, Kim. The talking point is that, yeah, y'all all having sex with the same dudes. Then you complain about that dude. Y'all are all having sex with the same, about 30% of men, because that doesn't mean only 30% of men having sex, but all of y'all are having, like, the top 25% of men, for the most part, 20% of men is the 80-20 rule. I'm saying 25% of men are having sex with, like, all of you, right? You made a manosphere comment you didn't even realize you did. The top 25% of men are having sex with all of you. And then you're complaining about that top 25% of men because he can have access to all of you, so he is enjoying himself. That's not a man thing. Like, it's not a man thing. That's like a class thing almost, right? You want a particular class of man. That particular class of man is wanted by all of you. So he's indulging in all of you, regardless of race, right? And then women in general are then complaining that this man is ghosting them, that he doesn't have time for them, that he's treating them like like there's just another one, because there is just another one. So if an increasing amount of men are not having sex, but women are still having sex, that means straight women. We're not talking about the L and LGBTQ having sex. We're speaking about women having sex with men. That means y'all are having more sex with a smaller amount of men. And then you wonder why that smaller amount of men act the way they do. Like arrogant assholes. Because why wouldn't they be? Y'all all chasing after them. I'm just saying. And then, I mean, do we really want to have the conversation about how white dudes is just knocking off everybody? And a particular group of white dudes in particular. Because I've worked with these dudes. I told you, everyone knows Mr. Z used to work at a law office. I seen him. The white dude with just a little charisma and okay looks, or better than okay looks, he running through everyone. Y'all heard me, right? I didn't say every woman. I said everyone. Take that how you will. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. I'm just reading through. I'm just looking. Jamil said, "Black women avoid me at all costs because they know I'm not going to hold my tongue." That was me. That was me in a couple of places I've worked. They wouldn't avoid me at all costs for the most part, but there were certain conversations they knew it was not going to be one of those placating conversations, right? But then at the same breath, they would want to pick your mind about certain things, right? So that's interesting. Joe said, I'll argue that they keep it in, showing how Oprah tamed them. If you're speaking about women talking all type of crazy on some of these talk shows and then how those things would get deleted, um, yes and no. Yes and no, right? It depended on what talk show and like how crazy that woman might have gotten, whether that particular segment stayed in or got deleted, right? Because yeah, they might show the host reeling them back in and being like, "Oh, are you sure you want to say it like that?" But if the person was really crazy or they said something that really struck a nerve, and got the crowd all riled up, maybe it would get deleted. It all depends, right? Oh, Free Will Defender. Okay, I watched it on Cube, Cuda, and Obsidian streams. Umar has been red pilled. LOL. Even though he's fighting it. I mean, a lot of men, right? A lot of men. It's not. It's just. You think the church congregation, the men there, don't know? They split into two. They either become Amiri and all them other dudes that's like, well, if we just get ourselves together perfectly, then the women will just fall in line. Because don't get it twisted. Amiri and what's the other brother name? They're red pilled. They're fighting it. That's the part that you said. They're fighting it. They don't want to believe that the women are who they know they are. Notice what I say, know and believe. They don't want to believe the women are who they know. See, whatever. Oh man. Okay, there's so many comments I missed because I had to reach the phone, and I don't have that much battery life left. So let's try to get as many of these out as I can. It's all women of color. Yep. I just never knew how severe it was with other women. Yeah, Bruce Major, but I've been saying it because I've worked with different women of color. I've worked with Latinas. I've worked with Asian women. I've worked with obviously black women from across the diaspora. I've worked with some Arab women. I've worked with East Asian women and South Asian women. I know, right? I know, and I'm like that's why I kept on telling brothers like, black women are just the loudest about it. I've been saying that, right? I've been saying that because I knew, right? Because I knew. Okay, let's see what else we got. Winter, they're gonna be scheming for sure. Joe said, yeah. My comments is gone. T cartoons, etc. shows women kicking men in their private parts. Yeah. Oh, that was DA, by the way. That was DA. Shout out to Kevin C for the 5-spot. Cash App. Thank you very much, sir. Two can play that game. Yes, that was the movie I was speaking about with Vivica A. Fox and more. Thank you, brother. Thank you. All right. Excuse my background because drunk white dudes. Give me a second. Actually, let me move out of their their vicinity so maybe hear myself think. Right? Yeah. Shout out to those of you that think you're gonna make a boyfriend or a husband out of these people. Anyway. Yep. Man, the things I've seen, I wish you luck. Go over. I wish you luck. Y'all will see. Ain't what you think it is. You'll find out why white women be divorcing them. Good luck. Right? Good luck. Sometimes you gotta find out the hard way. Sometimes you do. All right, so let's see what else we got. Let me see if I get a little bit reception here. Okay, and we're back. Let's see. Okay, what else we got? Because I missed so many of you guys' comments. I'm so sorry about that. Jamil said, black women own a large amount of student loan debt, bro. True. Let them payments start kicking in again with a higher interest rate and widespread layoffs in a downturn. They'll be calling this a white collar downturn. It's coming anyway because of automation. It's coming anyway because of automation. It's coming. Some of it is already here. Fuck, just coming. Pause. But yeah, right. Like just man. Look, man. This society, Western society, the globe, we're really gonna have to sit down and rethink everything, right? Everything from the 40-hour work week to environmental crisis stuff to I think it's as if the elite are trying to get every freaking penny they can from this current system before they're forced to change, right? But they're trying to squeeze every penny they can from us as a society, from whatever the rules are and whatever is legal now. They're trying to squeeze everything, every penny they can now before they're forced to change, right? So yeah. And the many of the women are just none the wiser. They're just none the wiser, right? And you know, to their detriment. And I'll just pause right there on that one. Yeah, women give positive reinforcement for negative behavior. Yep. Carlton Pert, I think that's how you pronounce your last name, brother. We'll see if the theory holds up, Jamil. Yes. And I don't think so. I just don't think so. I don't think so. I think a lot of this is ego stroking and placating and toxic positivity. I think a lot of this is that, and it is not going to work for anyone in the long run, let alone black women of all people. I don't think it works for them in the long, and I mean the masses of them. Yes, there's going to be one or two, right? And then the way the society works, especially with black people, we tokenize those people, right? While the masses starve, right? So that's what will happen, right? Y'all don't worry about yourselves. Y'all got Ketanji Brown, Kamala Harris, Beyonce, right? Oprah. Y'all doing good, right? Y'all got Michelle Obama. Y'all doing good, right? All right then. That's what the society's pretty much telling them. And they're like, yeah, we're doing good. We're doing good. Even though I'm like 38 years old and I live with my mom. All right. I'm 45 years old and I live with my mom. Like, all right, okay. Or I live with a roommate, another woman roommate. Cool. All right, I guess. I mean, if you want to, but many of them would rather not be in that position. They'll never say it out loud, though. Oh, well. I guess that's the network, right? That Kim from Fort Harriet was speaking about, right? Let's see. I love to see FD thinks about CG being on Fox Soul all the time, being who she is, saying what she says. I'm sorry about that. A bike. So yeah, no, I mean, he did play a clip of Cynthia G speaking about aborting black sons, and I think he knows that she's been on Fox Soul, so he knows. FD is not dumb, bro. I would argue FD understands this way better than he puts on his channel. He just doesn't want. He's one of those that thinks if black men would just embrace this kind of black academic understanding of intersectional feminism, that women will have no choice and just like go along with it, right? And I'm like, bro, you really underestimate how many black men are truly egalitarian, and it's the women that are like, F that, right? You really underestimate that, right? And some of these sociologists and the people that speak about dating and online dating in particular, they're saying it. So, I gotta hurry up as my battery's about to die. Let's go, keep on going. Detroit asked me if it's Taz. I think that's the other brother I was speaking about with Amiri, and it's another one too, right? It's another one. I can't remember his name. Yep. Oh, I'm at 5%. Ooh. Okay. All right, y'all. Toxic positivity. I will speak about that another time. Trail Bentley, but we at 5%. And going fast. So let's just call it a night. I will try to make a creator stream tomorrow, hopefully. Thank y'all for being with me in this late date. Right, we had 60-some people watching at one point, and thank you. And once again, like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat or the thank you button for the replay squad. And yeah, y'all, we'll call it a night for now. 5%, jeez. All right, y'all, peace. And I'll pause right there. That's for that's for my sis from Jersey. All right, y'all.